Maybe you'll get it when he's off.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mr. Downey.
Thank you, Ms. Kenmore. Good morning to you. How are you today? I'm not going to say good morning again, but hello, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole for the State Board of Education of the State of Georgia for November. And very quickly, I'm going to ask Mr. Frank Griffin if he would lead us in prayer and then the pledge.
Yes, bow with me, please. Father, thank you for the time that we have this morning to do the work of this state for the benefit of our students and families and the state as a whole. God, may we be cognizant of the need for your wisdom and discernment as we make decisions. Bless us today. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Join me as we pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to do things a little differently this month because we have a need to go into executive session, but before I entertain a motion to do that, I want to go ahead and build the agenda. So we'll start with budget.
Sure.
Mr. Griffin.
Mr. Chairman, we would like to put forth items 1 through 12 to the consent agenda.
1 through 12. Thank you. For rules, Ms. Petty.
I've not got it pulled up here, but my recollection would be 1 through 5 through the consent agenda, and items 6 and 7 for separate vote.
Okay, very good, thank you. And then charter and flexibility, I know Mr. Sweetie is tied up in traffic right now, but we had, I think, two items 1 and 2 for the consent agenda, okay? Also, I have, if you would like to read these in, Mr. Bittner, do you have anything for us?
I make a recommendation to move the following to the consent agenda. The individual student waivers, the minutes of the September 27th, 2023 executive session, the minutes of the September 2023 state board meeting, the minutes of the October 20, 2023 call state board meeting, and the November 2023 legal report, with the exception of one legal appeal that is being pulled for a separate vote, and that item is case number 2024-06.
Okay, very good. Then this will be, take care of that. All right, any other business that should be put on the agenda at this time? All right, so we are going to build our agenda. We'll take a break. We have to go into executive session. I know it's a little odd, a little different. We're on a tight timeline. So entertain a motion at this time to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel and or legal matters.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Do I have a second? Okay, I had multiple seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will be in executive session. We will be back. All right, I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Johnson, all right, any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Martha. Reflect that no business was done in executive session. At this time, board members, you have before you a proposed agenda. And Mr. Sweeney, I will entertain motions related to that.
Mr. Chair, make the motion that we approve the agenda.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, passes. Mr. Sweeney?
Chair, make a recommendation that we approve the consent agenda.
All right, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Multiple seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, so the agenda is approved, the consent agenda has passed. We do have, let's see. Budget rules, what's first on here?
Executive.
The executive committee items. Is there anything that needs to be taken up? Yep, go ahead.
Yes, in the individual legal case number 2024-06, it is recommended that the State Board of Education affirm in part and remand in part the decision of the local board in case number 2024-06.
Great, I'll entertain a motion for that recommendation.
Motion.
Thank you, sir. And second, any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Right. The ayes have it. We will move on to, let's see, Rules Committee items that we pulled two, it would appear, and Ms. Petty, we'll start with the first one. This is regarding State Board Rule 160-3-1-.07.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, do you have the motion for the rule, are you starting there?
What is the recommended action item?
The recommendation, hang on one second, let me pull the rule. If it is recommended that the state board authorize the superintendent to initiate rulemaking procedures in accordance with the Georgia Administrative Procedure Act so as to amend State Board of Education Rule 160-3-1-.07, testing programs, student assessment.
Entertain a motion related to that recommendation.
So moved.
All right. A second.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Well, I spoke about that yesterday, and none of you had a chance to read it. The suggestions, I have a feeling that it's probably gonna go ahead and pass anyway. I just wanted everybody to be aware that, under kindergarten and first and second grade, that line that says, this puts us in compliance with the law. And several other things in there put us in compliance with the law, but, I don't know that we had enough conversation on this over a long period of time. And I know Tiffany and I talked, and I appreciate that, Tiffany, of saying that this was under testing programs and student achievement. But I also know that there were other, Georgia State Board rules that were in there, dual enrollment and other things that had other State Board rules. And usually by a State Board rule, there's a referred Georgia code, that goes with it. But especially the things under the kindergarten and first and second grade where it said, after each administration of a universal reading screener to kindergarten students, each public or local school system shall report results to parents and guardians of students who participated in the administration and to the department for analysis. That was something that was brought up while we postponed it for a while because we did not have that in line with the law. We only had about the testing.
And we did add that language, Ms. Rice. So that language we identified.
Did you add that?
On testing regulations and procedures, if you look on page 13 of the red line version, that's online. Section D.
On the ones that are redlined here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me look at that. Thank you, Tiffany.
So you see there, 4D states that LEAs will provide individual student score reports for all state mandated assessments to the parent or legal guardian in a timely manner and to the extent practicable in a language that the parent and guardian understand. And then underneath, the language related to LEAs providing the results of each administration of the universal reading screeners in K through 3 to the department for analysis, as well as the language related to the formative assessment results also being sent to the department for analysis for those systems that choose to utilize a formative assessment.
Okay, I appreciate that. Let me ask you this, there's a lot of content in here, and as we talked about yesterday, it's uncharted territory in that House Bill 538. And so where would this other information, so it reads more fluently for our districts, because they're the third party that's involved in this, and they've never seen some of these things that deal with these testing rules. Where would this also go, Align? You said it would go could go somewhere
So
else.
there are other rules that we could certainly look at. We could potentially look at the MTSS rule. I hate to commit to specific rules at this point, but there are other rules related to interventions. You know, we have the dyslexia rule that we could also look at in terms of amending. I think there are options to where the interventions would go. I think particularly as well related to the notes and comments that you shared with Jack Powers. He also noted that if there's another rule that we have related to interventions, that this information would go better in that rule. And so I think that in following with that alignment and with the information that we provide, that this is just the testing rule, that we leave it with just the testing provisions and requirements.
Tiffany, I appreciate that, but let me tell you my fear of this, is that Jack did say that it could be in this and another place too, which would offer clarity, especially in uncharted waters. And that's what I don't want to happen for our districts, that as there's so much going on, there's so much in House Bill 538 that we need to align to. And everything that was blue lined is mentioned in that bill. So the best way that we can get this in an orderly fashion for our districts, if we put it somewhere else too. I know you mentioned on page 13 in here that LEAs that scores for individuals shall be, where is it? LEAs that substitute one administration of a universal screener with, that's not it.
So it's E, which is right above that, and then the
LEAs shall provide the results of each administration of universal screeners in kindergarten through grade 3 to Georgia DOE for analysis. And where does it say to parents? The parents are supposed to
parents
get,
is the one right before that in D.
all right. LEA shall provide individual student score reports for all state mandated assessments. Okay, to the parents and legal guardians in any timely fashion, and to extend practical in a language that permits guardians understand. Okay. All right, well, I'm glad we got that there. I hope that makes some sense all over. But as I said, there's so many good things here, and I hope that we can put those in some kind of separate rule for House Bill 538 or something, so that we can make sure that our systems do see what is connected with all of this in some kind of clear and formatted order.
Sure, and we've, I think as we shared at the retreat, have already started with providing guidance to our districts and schools with that alignment that we update regularly as they are going through both meeting the deadlines that are required in 538, but also making sure it's aligned to all the other literacy measures and requirements that they have as well.
So when you do start those guidelines,
We shared a version with you
Okay.
at the retreat. You've got the link, so you're welcome to review it at any time to see any of the updates.
Okay.
Superintendent, I think you had a comment.
Just a quick thing, this is just to remind the board, this is just initiation. This is
Yeah,
not
I know.
adoption of
I know.
policy or anything, and I think that in the past, once we get the feedback, and I think we have been always very diligent, and we listen to the feedback, if we need to make changes in tiers and stuff like that, so this is where everybody gets to have their input. If there's questions out there, I would encourage every district to make sure you do that, but just to remind, we are not adopting anything. We're just throwing it out there, and if we need to make corrections, we will be glad to make corrections.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
Any further discussion? There's been a motion, a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 2, which is the Georgia Early Literacy Act State Literacy Metric. Is there a recommendation?
Oh,
I'll let you. Do the joint.
Before you, board members, in front of you, you have a updated copy of the recommended Georgia literacy metric. I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, we had, as all of you know, we had a very rich and prolonged discussion yesterday. And after yesterday's meeting, everybody that was involved in this got back together. And I'm very happy to report that we have reached some consensus on this. Without jumping the fence on this, we now, this has been supported, the version that you see in front of you is not only supported by the department and Superintendent Woods, also the Governor's Office of Student Achievement, and Chairman Johnson of the Council on Literacy has indicated that he would support this as well. The change is this, the stretch band that you see that was presented yesterday is unchanged. We have made no changes to that since yesterday's discussion. What has been added is a way that we will report students' performance, or Georgia's performance, at the end of the year. And after some excellent discussion, you can see that there is now a reporting framework that matches the achievement categories. We will report the percent of students that are on grade level, and then we will break out the 3 groups of on grade level students and report those individually or separately as a part of the overall passing rate for Georgia's 3rd graders. So, and the language of those reporting categories matches the achievement categories that are right above it, verbatim. So that is the recommendation, and I'm very happy and pleased to announce that, or to share with the board, that it's now supported by all the different folks that are going to be involved in this work. So with that, I'll respond to any questions.
All right, so the recommendation is that we adopt this, the new sheet that is put on your desk. So I entertain a motion at this time to adopt this.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. Second. All right,
Second.
multiple seconds. All right, any discussion?
I like the addition
Okay,
they have on here, the percentages, and it gives us a better view of all the students that are within that stretch band. So
Thank you.
all right, so I just want to know, do we have thumbs up from everybody out there? Superintendent, all right? Any discussion? All right, all those?
Just one quick comment that the dialogue around this is rich. It should continue, it's gonna have to continue. But what we've done, I believe, is organized a way to communicate this to the people that are going to communicate to 3rd graders, 3rd grade parents, about how to make the necessary gains they need for their child, their class, their school. So, big victory. Thank you all for the negotiation. The dialogue has to continue, get deeper, and we gotta level up our understanding of this. So thank you, Superintendent, for your leadership and commitment to this. Really, you and the staff since you got here. This is another benchmark along the way.
All right, Mr. Sweeney.
echoing what Kenneth is sharing too, and we heard at our retreat from Woody with Curriculum Associates, about the Mississippi Miracle, and that, this wasn't a quick fix. They've been at this for more than a decade, and the power that they had was sticking with a plan. And, then literally just taking it step by step and allowing the results to materialize from the great efforts that they were doing. I think what everyone becomes fearful of is that they want immediate results. And this is gonna take a while. And we've gotta be very, very circumspect about that and understand it is gonna be a long haul. We want results quickly. It doesn't happen that way. It just comes from very, very diligent work and efforts and staying the course.
Any further discussion? All right, there's been a motion, a second, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we will move on to, before we get to the superintendent's report, I did want to recognize some guests that we have with us today, and I'm sorry, again, normally this would be at the beginning of the meeting, but we've had kind of a different setup today. Dr. Amy Faust from Georgia Language Arts Supervisor, Dr. Claire Buck from GASIS, Robert Aycock from Page, Matthew Smith from GPEE, Rodney Kay from Gale, Buddy Cosley from Gale. Now, Buddy, your days are numbered, right?
Always.
All of our days are numbered. Stands at all of our days are numbered. Megan Swingle and Missy Purcell from Decoding Dyslexia Georgia. Miranda Williams from GOSA. She's our Georgia literacy coach. Danielle Rosa from GPSTC. We will hear from you in a little bit. Thank you for joining us. Scott Johnson from Georgia Council on Literacy, our chairman. Thank you for being here. Kathy Stewart from Fulton County Board of Education. Monica Flamini from GOSA, Shanna Downs from West Georgia RESA, Stephanie Tanner from GSBA, Margaret Cigarelli from Page, Robert Aycock from Page, Jeff Amy from the Associated Press, Annie Ginsterblum from GPE, J.D. Harden from Cognia, Brent Rhodes from BBB, and Joy Hawkins from GOSA. Did I miss anyone? Commissioner Lynn Riley. Good to see you. Anyone else? All right. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent for his report at this time.
Okay. Well, speaking of Commissioner Lynn Riley, we have a presentation on Georgia Match, which has been recently launched out, and very exciting about what is taking place across Georgia for our kids. And Commissioner, I'll let you take it from here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members, and Superintendent. Thank you for giving me some time to present to you the Georgia Match program. I believe there's a PowerPoint that I hope somebody will upload, and if not, I will wing it. But I just wanted to give you an update on this phenomenal program that has been a partnership of all the education agencies that came together almost 10 months ago now to deliver a vision of Governor Kemp's to stimulate our high school seniors into pursuing their higher education goals here in the state of Georgia. I'm going to move quickly to all of you's awareness that the typical college admission process starts with the student taking the initiative. They need to do the research, consider their options, and then go and apply to whatever institutions they might want to attend, and then wait to hear back. The student has to pay application fees for each of the applications they submit, and students can receive acceptance letters, but they can also receive rejection letters. And this process is dependent on a student taking action. The direct admission initiative that we have just launched reverses that order. Now we are sending letters to every high school senior in public and private institutions and notifying them of the public institutions at the technical college system and at the university system that they are academically eligible to automatically enroll. These letters started going out in early October after the governor announced the initiative, and we have had remarkable activity already. The reason for this, Governor Kemp recognized that we have one person seeking employment for every 3 jobs that are available in the state. So we absolutely have to grow our workforce pipeline. And our best way is to stimulate those 12th graders to engage and start envisioning what their role will be in the economic prosperity of the future. This slide is the one that really drove home to all of us that work together, and there's a number of people here in the room today that were participating in this initiative. But this slide shows that on the right-hand side, the blue pieces of the pie, those are students from the class of 2021, that have enrolled in public in-state, public technical colleges, or private in-state. But that whole left side of the pie are those that we'd like to have them consider earning their higher education credentials in Georgia. For those that are going out of state, we'd like to help them understand that there might be a much more affordable option here in the state of Georgia. And for those that have gone directly to work or that we aren't really sure where they are after high school, giving them an idea of what the possibilities might be for them for some credential attainment or degree attainment that's going to improve their academic success and the potential to earn more in the future. So while everyone will be receiving a letter, those are the ones that we hope to inspire, because we see that about half already have made a good decision. Why college in Georgia? Our university system is high distinction. The Georgia Match letter will let them know which ones they are eligible for admission next year. We have had no tuition increases for 6 of the last 8 years in the university system. We have low tuition, and the lifetime earnings for earning and retaining an advanced degree will help those students earn greater prosperity. Our technical college system, enrollment is guaranteed for every high school graduate at a TCSG institution. They do not have a minimum GPA, so any student is eligible to enroll. TCSG system has certificate programs that are less than a year to complete, up to longer programs in many different fields. Our HOPE grant that Student Finance offers and our HOPE scholarships currently cover 100% of tuition at both USG and TCSG institutions. And our HOPE Career Grant that Student Finance provides also provides additional funding for students that are enrolling in high-demand fields. The Student Finance Commission, which I am so very proud to oversee, we have an outreach team that already assists students in planning and paying for college, and we are already engaged working directly with individual students to help them make some good choices once they receive their Georgia Match letter. As you know, we administer a variety of programs beyond just the HOPE and Zell Miller Scholarship and grants. And last year, we provided over 248,000 students with awards in this state. Our HOPE program awards, since the inception of the program 30 years ago, as you can see, 2.1 million students have benefited with over $14 billion in awards. So this is what the letter looks like that is in mailboxes. Again, we've sent over 110,000 so far, with another 15,000+ going out next week. Some of the students' information that we received from the high schools had some glitches, so that we have been spending the past couple of weeks correcting that information, and the second round of letters are going out this next week. This is an illustration of all of the technical college and USG institutions that a student would be academically eligible to enroll at if they had a 3.4 HOPE GPA that's calculated by Student Finance. I draw your attention to the QR codes on the letter, which is why we put it on both the front and the back side of the letter. That is the gateway for a student, once they open the envelope, to click on that QR code, and it takes them right to our website. That allows the student to log into their dashboard and do some searching. I'll give you the statistics as of this morning. We have had 153,000 views of our Georgia Match webpage on our Georgia Futures website, 28,000 QR code clicks Of that, there's 26,000 from the individual students that received a letter. So we can see some very high activity. We're really excited about that. And I think our next slide is a indication, just some visuals on the amount of letters that we sent out. That palette that you are seeing on the left hand is 60,000 letters that were prepared by our printer and went out on October 10th. And what we have been telling the students with our communications since October 5th is that November is Apply to College Month in the state of Georgia. And as the governor has decreed, we're very proud that all of the participating Georgia Match institutions are waiving their application fees. So we encourage the students to wait until yesterday to actually initiate an application with any of the institutions they're interested in to ensure that they would not be charged an application fee. When the student or anyone goes to our homepage at Georgia Futures, they will see this information that will direct them to the subpages for Georgia Match. But we've had a lot of traffic on our Georgia Futures homepage as well. The dashboard, this is what a student would see once they log in to their unique information. And the letter that they received lists the schools which they'd be academically eligible. This dashboard includes the same information. The student is able to do some research based on geographic distance of the schools from their home zip code. And they can also compare cost of attendance of the institutions from drop-down menus right on their dashboard. If they are interested in more information from any of the institutions that are on their letter, they just click that green box, Request Info. We will automatically send in their request to the institution, and sometimes within less than 24 hours, the institution will be in touch with information for that student. Once a student has made their decisions and wants to choose a place to claim their spot, the system will allow them to select up to 3 of the boxes within their dashboard to claim their spot. And again, we will automatically send that information to the institutions, and in many cases, less than 24 hours, the institutions will directly be in contact. We've limited to 3 institutions to claim your spot without human intervention. We want to make sure that the students might receive some counseling at that point so that they don't search too broadly, and make sure that they have refined their research and be very careful about the choices that they make. Some more visual information that I really wanted to drive home to the board, and this is the activities that our partners, our high schools across the entire state are taking right now. They started in October, but they are communicating directly within their schools information to motivate these students once they receive their letter, or if they don't want to wait and just go to the website, which we've seen a lot of that activity, would make sure that they will engage with this process. We want, and we're really excited that we've seen a lot of activity, but I would ask members of the board to check in with some of the schools in their districts. We are doing follow-up with some of the schools in the districts where we have not seen a lot of activity. We want to ensure that every student takes a moment and potentially gets on our website and looks at the opportunities that they have in their future. These counselors at each of the high schools, public and private, have also received copies of every letter from every student in 12th grade. So a high school student, a 12th grader, can seek out the information from the counselor if for whatever reason they have not received one in the mail, nor if they have, or if they might have had a problem trying to log in on our website. The post-secondaries are waiting, as I said, once the students click information, click on the website, whether it's to request information or claim your spot. We do an automatic overnight download to the institutions of all the students' clicks, and the institutions are taking it from there to make sure that all the information is provided to them, and they will continue to contact those students to ensure that they have every bit of information they need to make a good decision. And then, of course, the institutions will confirm that final eligibility using their normal processes. some visuals, just some sample communications that the colleges have prepared for inspiring the students once they have initiated a request for information. Again, in an effort to underscore that every 12th grader in the state of Georgia has a place that they can go to higher education and learn more about a skill or a career that they might want to engage in. We don't want any of them to miss that opportunity. So we're pleased that the high school and the post-secondaries are going to great lengths to capture their imagination. Georgia Match social media toolkit has been provided to the high schools and out to other interested parties. We are putting ourselves at Student Finance an incredible amount of information out on all of the social media apps that our high school students tend to engage in. And we are doing everything we possibly can to make sure that they're aware what their opportunities are, particularly in Apply to College Month. We've got a lot of things. You can see some of the hype materials that we have generated through our outreach team at Student Finance, and we're really proud of the efforts and some of the attention that it has drawn across the 12th grades, all the way across the state. Digital marketing, I hope many of you might have seen some of this when you open up web browsers to do your business online. We have partnered with the Technical College Systems digital marketing team, and we are seeing these all over social media as well as all over some web platforms and browsers. Please, if you see them, please share them, please like them, please help us keep the hype going. Our goal, when the education agencies came together, we realized that we have to measure success. So while we are doing all of the review of data from our website on all of the activity that is happening on a daily basis, we are going to continue to partner with all of our education agencies here in the state to gather information all along each 12th grader's trajectory through post-secondary training and education. We are also going to be doing this every year from now on. We, of course, will have a little bit more runway for 11th graders. We'll be communicating with them over time, so they'll be ready to get their match letter when they start their 12th grade year. But we want to ensure that we not only inspire them to apply, but we make sure that they do enroll next year in one of our very affordable colleges and universities across the state. And then we will be tracking their progression, making sure that they have all the supports and resources to persist, graduate, and go right out into the Georgia workforce. Again, members of the board, this initiative, vision of Governor Kemp, is to ensure that we have an educated workforce pipeline here in Georgia, that our students know that there's a place for them in a Georgia institution, that Student Finance Commission can provide a very affordable way for them to achieve their success, and that we have a place for them in the state workforce to help our prosperity continue to thrive and continue for us to be the #1 state in the nation for living, working, and thriving. I thank you all very much for the time I shared with you today, and thank you for the support that you provided the Department of Education across the state for the success of this initiative. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner, if we could ask some questions, if
Of
anyone's
course.
got any comments. Ms. Rice?
I mean, wow, I'm just amazed. I mean, we started out in middle school with some programs, remember, to encourage students to sign on and stay with us. But what a connection here. And thank you for your work. And I know you do the valedictorian with us, and there's so many things that y'all do as an organization, but this is such an impact for our students that probably think they've never had a chance to go and couldn't have a chance to do anything. I'm so excited. Will you send those slides so that we can get them?
Absolutely.
Megan, and send them?
I'm sure they will share them all with you.
Okay, because this is a great talking point when you're in schools or at your chamber, all over. It's great.
Well, thank you, and yes, absolutely. We really are grateful for all of the partnership. I'm grateful to Joy Hawkins behind me, who has been a partner on this journey. We've had such
great collaboration to be able to bring this all together. I'm just grateful to be a spokesperson today on how proud I am of all of the heavy effort that went into this to make this a success. I'm also grateful for the leadership of your former colleague, Scott Johnson, who now serves on our Student Finance Board, that they were very supportive of student finance, helping build this infrastructure and help administer it for our students.
Mr. Johnson. Commissioner, thanks for coming. I'm interested how you're gonna track them. So, some people are gonna go another route and not use Georgia Match potentially. Is it gonna be like they scan the QR code and go through that process and you're gonna track them that way?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. I forgot that information. Not only did I talk about the QR code clicks, but as of this morning, 8,965 students have requested more information, and 8,256 spots have been claimed. And that is just cumulative, and yesterday was only day one of the free application period. So we had a great deal of traffic before, the minute the governor announced the program and before Apply to College Month actually started. We're updating this on a daily basis. We are watching, and we will continue to track when students actually do accept admission into a program, and then continue to watch their persistence and their graduation and into the workforce. Again, a collaboration of all of the education agencies that will be feeding that data to Student Finance so we can share it with you.
I think that's great. Thank you.
Ms. Petty.
Yes, just thank you. I have had parents and students, even the day it was announced, I had parents texting me. They were so excited about this because it has been cumbersome in the past, to fill out the application, do the FAFSA, and when you're just on your own trying to do it sometimes. But in my communities, they are so excited about it. I am so excited because, as you said, we have one person applying for there's 3 jobs available, and only one person applying for those jobs. So getting our workforce, keeping them here, make them excited to be here, not think they just have to be here, that they want to be here.
Absolutely, and that is the goal, that there's a place for every Georgia student to thrive in Georgia.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate all the information that you shared. It was a phenomenal event at the summit, seeing the governor bring all of this about, and just seeing the collaboration across all the departments coming together to make sure all of this works like clockwork. There are no roadblocks is phenomenal. And I brought everybody a bag of everything, so gave it out to everybody to share the information. And you were talking about there are some high schools that have students that haven't really gone into their dashboard. Is there any way for us to find out so that we can kind of encourage the schools within our district?
Absolutely. I was speaking to members of the team here at Department of Education this morning. We are going to disseminate to our partners which high schools we've not seen a lot of activity so that they can be nudged. We're doing some outreach specifically. We have developed heat maps. We're watching right down to where a student lives that has engaged with the program so that we can continue to motivate. And we will do this again, a big push in February, because most of the participants will waive application fees in March as well. So any student that hasn't already taken the initiative to make application to a post-secondary, we'll remind them again and give them another window to take another free bite at continue considering application.
I shared this at NASB when I was there for the literacy group and shared about what we were trying to do here in Georgia. And so now we have other states looking at what's being done because they said that that is a great idea, that they would like to have it implemented in their own states.
Well, thank you for that. We're very proud of the collaboration and the outcome, and we'll happily share the secret sauce because I'm sure that other states would love to keep their students at home as well. If I could beg the chairman's pleasure, I believe there is a video from the biggest cheerleader of all of this program that could be shared by your team.
Let's see it.
This is Governor Brian Kemp. I wanted to take this opportunity and thank you for all you've done to make the rollout of Georgia Match a success. I'm happy to report that thousands of students are already in the process of claiming their spot at one of our state's universities or institutions. To keep up that momentum, we need the continued efforts of you, our local K-12 partners, to reach students and their families and prepare them for a lifetime of success. Keep up that great work, and thank you again for all you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, a lot of us in here have worked with first-generation college students. This is such a game changer, and what a genius move. And I just have to look around the room and see all the partners that we have here today for a lot of different things, from the Council on Literacy to the Georgia Student Finance Commission, and I look at how collaborative the cooperation between state agencies is going to be to help us make sure that this is a success, because this is truly a genius move for Georgia and a game changer for a lot of our students.
Thank you very much.
Anything further? Ms. Kimball?
Happy birthday to Governor Brian Kemp. Today is his birthday.
Oh.
That's, just want to put that out there.
You know, a lot of birthdays
He's
seem
one
like
year
it.
better.
That's right. All right, anything further? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, at this time, I would like to bring up one of the members of DOE staff. I think going back to 2015, when I first came on board, we did not have a fine arts person at DOE. In fact, we had not had a fine arts person for 25 years. And I think that as we look at, we only had STEM certification, but yet we've been able to add STEAM certification to introduce the arts. But a lot of this and really the work and effort that has been done to revitalize art throughout the state is, I want to give credit to Miss Jessica Booth. One of my favorite people here at the DOE. She recently received an award, which again, probably she could line them up, to be honest. But I'm going to let Jessica kind of share a little bit what's going on and toot her own horn a little bit, with the award, and just kind of share what that. But again, just want to say thank you again, Jessica, for what you have meant to the students of Georgia, the art teachers of Georgia. I guarantee you, within her realm of colleagues, she is widely recognized for her work, and I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm coming after such a great program. It's hard to show that up. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Downey, State School Board members, and Superintendent Woods. I'm going to give you an update on the Fine Arts Department and kind of where we've come in the last almost 9 years now. I have a team of 3 that work fairly hard, if you include myself. My background is visual and media arts. I was an illustrator prior to coming into education, and Paul McLean joined me about 4 years ago as our theater and film expert, and then Casey Hall is our music specialist. So the 3 of us cover 3 of the 4 fine arts subject areas for certification and do training. As Superintendent Woods just said, we were recently recognized as a department by the Woodruff Arts Center, which is the largest arts organization in the Southeast. It is the mother organization of the High Museum of Art, the Alliance Theater, and the Symphony Hall. So you're going to see a short video, and it's going to be directed towards me a lot because I received the award as the face of this department. But really, it's the work that I've done through the school board and through Superintendent Woods' vision that allowed us to be recognized. But it's a great thing when a private industry sector recognizes the work that's done at the Department of Education. And let's see if we can get it to go.
Jessica Booth has been the Fine Arts Program Manager at the Georgia Department of Education since 2015.
And during that time, she's been a remarkable leader and advocate for education through the arts statewide. She's organized education leaders and community stakeholders in the development of Georgia's standards of excellence in fine arts, and that includes the development of teacher curricula for 90 fine arts courses in grades K through 12. Jessica also created the Georgia STEAM certification for schools, the Georgia Fine Arts High School Diploma Seal, and the Creative Schools Arts Integration Award. And we're very fortunate that every step of the way, members of the Woodruff Arts Center were invited to participate in this process alongside education leaders throughout Georgia.
When I came to the Department of Education, there were a lot of gaps. We have about 475 courses, K-12, that are underneath the umbrella of fine arts, but more than half of our classes had no standards, which meant it was up to the teachers to decide what's the best way to teach these courses.
It would be impossible to even conceive of the updated standards in the arts without Jessica's work. She's been the one leading the creation of theater standards, dance standards, arts education standards, visual arts standards, music standards. That's her and her team crafting those and making them clear and connected.
The most important thing that Jessica's done with us has been her role in really rewriting the standards for the Georgia Department of Education. And part of that work ended up being embedding works from our own permanent collection into those standards as learning opportunities for students across the entire state.
She's really been a direct line between the people with experience that have the best practice knowledge to create what the resources and the standards are to come back to fuel what our students learn in classrooms.
Having grown up in the Georgia public school system, I know how important that is to have high-quality music education available to everybody across the state. And so we're so grateful to the work that she does.
The way that she has been able to maneuver through successive administrations, changes in leadership, varying district strategies and priorities, and sustain this commitment to quality arts integration for our young people is extraordinary. It's a gift to behold, and it's a gift that has ripple effects that will extend far beyond her tenure.
I think that the example that Jessica sets for us and also for all the people that she interacts with, it is certainly gratifying to know that we are not alone out there, and she is leading the way in building up the next generation of advocates for this kind of work.
We've worked on advocacy, we've worked on providing funding. Right now, we're really excited about resources that we've created. 91 courses, K-12 have full year-long instructional resources if a teacher wants to use them, and we made sure that we included Georgia musicians, dancers, actors, and artists in all of those. We want to make sure students in Georgia have an amazing arts opportunity, and that wasn't always the case here. So that's just been basically the goal of my work. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming that anyone is noticing that there's been a change, because a lot of times as an administrator, it takes a really long time to see any fruits of the labor that you do.
Jessica, I need to thank you for your decades-long fight for arts education. We could never do this work without you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And like I said, they say my name quite a bit, but it really is the work that the department has done. Is there a way for you guys to fix it? Thanks. And really all of it started with Superintendent Woods. He came into this position right after being elected and said, hey, we really need to make sure that our Georgian students have a variety of access points to the arts, to CTAE courses, to world language and physical education courses. And that was really the edict when I got here, was how can we increase access across the state? Simultaneously, Georgia's creative economy got really big at the exact same time. We're about $62.5 billion a year annually as far as impact in the arts right now. And much like the Georgia Match presentation, we need homegrown actors, artists, dancers, and musicians. And we are hearing from our creative industry partners that they're having to import people in from other states, and we don't want that to ever be the case. So with those kind of two things in mind, what the superintendent's vision was and what the school board's vision was, and our creative industry partners, we started an arts advocacy program. Starting with that was the Fine Arts Diploma Seal. When we first began in 2015, the first 2 years were really all about getting us standards and creating a STEAM certification to go alongside the STEM certification. The next year, we rolled out the Diploma Seal. It's been one of our single biggest advocacy tools, and more than 37,000 students in Georgia have received it since its inception. We have 67 school districts currently participating. I would love it if we had 120 in front of that number. It's a short application, and then the school districts can award the seal from then on. We've had 11 schools receive an Arts Integration Award. This is kind of a warm-up to schools that may want to do STEAM in the future. It's a one-time award for schools that are incorporating the arts through all of their other courses in an integrated fashion. It's our newest award. And then our last advocacy piece has been the Arts Data Dashboard. We are part of a consortium of 25 other states across the country that we import our information in. It's on our Georgia Insights Data Dashboard website. And you can drill down to individual school districts to see what classes are offered, even down to my child is in an orchestra. What high school should I try to get a house in when I move from the Atlanta area to the Savannah area? Even as a parent, you can go in and find that information. It's been a very helpful tool. It's also shown us where there's gaps in access across the state that we've been working on. We've also tried to provide funding to teachers and to in turn to our students. We created the START grant with our federal programs, and since 2019, more than $1 million has gone directly to only our rural school districts to provide arts support. We call it the START grant because it is used often to start arts programs that hadn't been funded in many years. The $10,000 grants can be even used towards salaries if they want to just try to bring in a part-time person in the beginning. It is also used to start new programs within existing programs. So they may have been a band, but there wasn't an orchestra. They could write a grant to get orchestra equipment and be able to have that as opportunities for students. This has been our START grant data so far. It's a continuing grant, which means it is a one-time grant on that year, but it's all equipment that has to be reused over and over. So we're estimating that about 55,000 rural students have benefited from the funds that the grant has provided over the years, which is pretty incredible, because these were parts of our state that desperately needed some help in this area. And then during our ESSER COVID relief funds, we were lucky enough to be given a little over $1 million that we gave directly back to teachers in the form of the Fine Arts Consumables and Equipment Grant. So almost $1 million in $3,000 grants is a lot of teachers across the state that receive these grants to work on projects and purchase equipment in their classrooms. And then the biggest thing my department's been able to do since we grew 4 years ago from just myself to the three of us is we've been going out and doing in-person workshops. Now that we have our standards set up, we have supports for teachers, we can finally go into the field. We've seen about 2,500 teachers between the three of us, and that is mostly during the time of our COVID relief or COVID era, where we were not in schools as often as possible. This year, we are everywhere, it seems. Often that is the first staff development our rural teachers have had in their subject area since they graduated from college, because it's not something that our school districts can typically provide when there's only 2 or 3 music teachers or 2 or 3 art teachers. We also have created a series of webinars, and when I say created, they're very homegrown, we did them ourselves, but we've had over 14,000 views of these webinars since 2020. We also have created many professional learning courses on Georgia Learns Hubs. Our most popular are ones for students with special needs. As an art teacher, sometimes you will get a student that may have limited sight, and we have a video from a teacher who has experience working with those students, trying to give tips to other teachers. We have things on theatrical design, and we have a micro-credential. It's probably the class we're the most proud of, that is recognized by the Professional Standards Committee, that allows teachers to get a micro-credential on their certificate for dramatic writing, which is the one fine arts course currently that counts as both a fine arts course and an English language arts required course for graduation. And then we also are supporting the virtual learning communities like our brethren in the other subject areas. We have about 760 videos currently for teachers, besides the discussion boards, and a way for them sometimes to reach out to a mentor in their subject area for the first time. And then right now, we're almost at, between the three of us, we're just shy of 6,000 instructional resources. Currently, this number is uploaded. And we have 91 courses full of complete year-long instructional resources. So if you were a teacher, our teachers are certified K-12, so you might be a ballerina, but all of a sudden your students want to have a modern dance class that you are not familiar with. We have resources they can look at in all of those courses to kind of help them out and give them some teacher staff development. When Georgia Inspire rolled out in the early fall, 63% of the courses in Inspire were fine arts. We were 91 of the original 143. So it's been a huge effort to go from, we had 0 resources in the former teacher resource link. This has all been developed since Superintendent Woods has been the superintendent. And they look like this. We have unit plans, we have lesson plans with teacher examples and student examples. They also have differentiation for students who are accelerated and students who may need assistance. These are all here for teachers to use if they want to, including PowerPoints and videos that really emphasize Georgia artists, musicians, dancers, and actors, to let students in Georgia know that they can stay here and they can learn in our schools about the arts and have a position and a career here in the creative industries and towards that $62.5 billion. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of kind of what has been going on behind the scenes. We are not the flashiest of all the departments, but we are pretty small and mighty. And I just have appreciated so much the support of the school board. Ms. Rice was very involved, I know, in the very beginning. It's been wonderful, my years here at the DOE. So thank you for letting me serve the students.
But before Jessica does sit back down. Sure my bootleg is all the way down, the wife gets on for that. But I do want to recognize the work Jessica has done. I know many of you are involved with the fine arts. I know Vice Chair Jarnett, I think an instrument of some sort, I think in your spare time. With that, and I do appreciate, you know, all the support we have given there. And I know when Jessica accepts this, she accepts it on behalf of her entire team with that. But I do want to recognize Jessica Booth, you know, for her recognition of Georgia arts community and your outstanding work to elevate fine arts. This could not be done without her. Like I said, she turned a vision into reality. So I appreciate that, and you know, I just want to say thank you. I've got to sign this, so again, we'll kind of give that back. So we just right off the printer with that. But also want to give you our distinguished service medal for your work and efforts as well. And so, Mr. Chair, if you would, if you could kind of join us, and I'll invite all the board members if you would like to come up and be a part of a picture with Jessica. So. Again, just in celebration of that, I know each year we do reach out to all our art teachers because we will be celebrating Christmas very shortly, hard to believe it or not. But all the ornaments that hang on our departmental tree are actually ornaments that come from our students throughout the state. So again, we appreciate that. Also, to make you aware of a new initiative we have going on this year, something called Georgia Schools Care. We are asking every single school to participate in the state of Georgia. The initiative is that we are going to be, working to support the efforts of two groups across, that work within the state. One, Toys for Tots. Again, this is an organization that supports kids, and again, providing toys and things of this nature to make sure they have a wonderful Christmas. But also Clark's Kids, which again is, many of us work and have been involved with this group. Georgia grown, Georgia owned, with Clark Howard. So what we are asking is that every student and every member who is a part of the school system to donate just $1. Again, not asking much, but again, understanding even for $1, that might be a lot for some people at these times. I said, if you can give 1 penny, I said, let's do 1 penny. And it may not seem like a lot, totally, but the districts or the school gets to choose which group they want to support. So again, whichever one you want, we give the option there. But you've got to figure, we have probably 1.7 million students in the state of Georgia, close to 400,000 individuals that work within our school system. And if everyone just donated $1, you can do the quick math. That's over $2 million that we can support our kids. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that. For the chair's report, I will ask Mr. Nick Ellis if he will introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have the distinct honor to introduce a young lady that I had the privilege to meet before I was appointed to the state board when I served on the Board of Public Safety and also with the Georgia School Boards Association. We came in contact around this conversation of school safety. And so as I was thinking this morning, what introduction I would bring before you, I thought about this: effective training and purposeful collaboration between public safety personnel, SROs, and school system administrative teams produce great outcomes for school safety, crime prevention, and community accountability. And so when I think of Danielle Rosa, I think of that quote that I've shared with you. We have had the opportunity to participate in several roundtable conversations with Governor Kemp, and also start to work with the Georgia School Boards Association to help our school board members understand the meaning behind school safety training and making sure that we help them understand the meaning of them increasing their budgets. And so I thought it was very fitting, and I asked the chair and vice chair, could we have her to come and speak with the board. Danielle Rosa is a employee of the Georgia Public Safety Training Center. She's been there since 2017. She also serves as the president of the Georgia Alliance of School Resource Officers and Educators. She has previous experience with the Clayton County Police Department and has a passion for helping our school resource officers and our school safety personnel get the right training, but also bring that collaboration and connecting all of the components of the initiatives from various departments. DOE's working on some things, GMA's working on some things, the governor's office is working on some things, and so she's been very instrumental at bringing and bridging the gap for all of these organizations around school safety. And so I introduce to y'all Danielle Rosa.
Thank you, Nick. A lot of pressure. I appreciate that. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Superintendent Woods, we've met several years ago, kind of started this conversation, and Chairman, Vice Chair, pleasure to meet you and some of my audience members. Y'all know me. You have my cell phone number at this point. We're family. But I appreciate that introduction, but I want to make it more personable just from sitting here for the past couple of hours. I'm also a mother of two. My kids are 6 and 8. My son is recently put on our IEP plan because he has dyslexia. So it was an honor to actually be in here and hear this. And now college will be easier, thank God, because my mom cussed me the whole time she did the FAFSA form to help me. So I'm happy about that. But also, too, I want a special shout out to you, Jessica, as well, because some of what I'm going to talk about today, you're absolutely right. Arts is where a lot of our kids who suffer from adverse childhood experiences thrive in. And I want you guys to understand, I'm not just some police officer up here talking about school safety. My mom's a retired educator from Clayton County Schools. She was also a police officer, and we did foster care growing up as kids. So I grew up with 13 kids in the family, sharing my parents. So I come from a very humble beginning, and it just is ironic to me these last couple of years that I fell into doing school safety, but I have a true understanding of what our kids need, what our parents need, what our educators need, what everybody needs to make sure that we truly feel safe in our schools. So I want you guys to know who's doing the training. And I train the SROs for the state of Georgia for the past 5 years, and I've said this at several conferences. If they are acting up and they have had a class with Danielle Rosa, you call me, I will call their chief or sheriff, and I will come down there and be like, that is not what I taught you. Let's start from the beginning again. Because I am committed into making sure that not only are all of our kids safe, but my kids are safe too. Okay, I'm part of the generation where Columbine happened in 1999. I was in 8th grade. So this is very, very important to me to make sure that we have the most up-to-date training. So with that being said, I'm going to try and get through this. I know everybody's starting to get hungry. But as Nick said, I work for the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, and Murray Kogod, who is also kind of my other companion when it comes to the Gazero piece, we came up with the idea that we know at the state level, for me, my main goal at GIPSTIC is to train the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, all school resource officers. This facility is down 75. If you're ever going to Macon, you're going to see a huge water tower that says GIPSTIC on it. It's a 1,000-acre facility. We train everybody in public safety. Jailers, emergency managers. GEMA actually has a facility behind us because they got bigger. We have a mock village. We have all of these capabilities. 5 years ago when I took over the school resource officer program, it was absolute garbage. I'll be honest with you. There was a lot of work that needed to be done. So I got it up to par based on conversations with my Board of Education police chiefs, my sheriffs, and other police chiefs that have MOUs in place with their school districts. And then my next step was, once I had a good foundational product, was to now say, why aren't we talking to my principals? Because who interacts with my SROs every day? My principals do. So I wanted to make sure that they also understood that we were there to support them. And that's what brought me into our now updated course. It's a week long. We talk about the role and the responsibility. We go into some of the legal application in a school. Georgia is very, very fortunate, as the principal has a lot of power when it comes to searches in a school. And I tell my SROs, just because you have a gun and badge, you do not always have to make the decisions. That's not your role. You are a resource. It's in your title. The principal should feel encouraged to be able to help these kids. We are not locking kids up the first time they do something bad. Just because we have a charge, that doesn't mean that we need to do it. It is a time for them to learn from their mistakes, make better decisions, and both the principal and the SRO can be there as a united front to make sure that this child knows what not to do in the future, some avenues to, navigate through not making bad decisions, and then what we can do forward. Something recently that I've really started to drive home in is issues in schools. We have a lot of issues with our kids. They love social media, and with social media comes sexting. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. Sexting is not illegal, but distributing child pornography is. So if little Susie at 16 years old decides to take a naked picture of herself and send it to her boyfriend that she loves so much, not only is she violating the law, but now a boyfriend that's received it is violating the law as well. Let me make you understand something. I am not in the business of locking kids up for felony child pornography. You guys get where I'm coming from? I'm in the business of, we need to educate our youth to let them know that those feelings they have are not always going to protect them, and sending nude photos is not okay. And so being able to have a platform to actually explain that not only to the child, but to the parents, to the educators, to everyone as a whole, helps make and keep our kids safe. So those are some of the things we talk about. Recently, I've connected with the Joint Terrorism Task Force with the FBI. Ghost guns is a real epidemic. Everybody in here could probably purchase a 3D printer for your child at about $250. But kids are actually able to use these in the STEM classes, which I know are there to benefit them, but there's certain mechanisms that they can actually print on those 3D printers where they can combine it with other pieces of a gun, and it's an actual workable gun in school. My goal with that is to educate any of the STEM teachers to say, hey, listen, by the way, if you see kids printing this form or this mechanism, it's probably going to be utilized for this. It's all about sharing information. I think we do a wonderful job in our own lane, but we also need to cross boundaries sometimes to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So in saying that, all of my classes, even my tactical classes, all of the educators, principals, everybody's invited. There's no secret into what I train my SROs. I think it helps balance that understanding of the SROs there as a resource and how we can work together on information sharing. Because unfortunately, the school resource officer is usually the last one to know when something is an issue, and by then it's already escalated because everyone's afraid that their reaction is going to be what? Lock the kid up. And that's not what we're there for. We take that further into youth crisis intervention. The first question I ask in every class is anybody in here not like kids? That's usually quiet. No one says anything. And I'm like, I'm dead serious. If you don't like kids, you should not be a school resource officer. I know plenty of law enforcement officers I've worked with, but if they told me they were going to a school, I'd be like, quit now. Don't even think about it. They're not your kids just because you raise them a certain way, so we need to develop ways of how to communicate with these kids. We balance a lot of things of timing. I call it the BLT method, behavior, language, timing, and it focuses on what is your behavior. If I'm standing over a child and I'm in a police uniform, I'm not going to get any type of compliance whatsoever. And it's not because it's me, I'm a nice person, I have kids on my own, it's because I'm wearing a police uniform that signifies that I have the authority to take your power away. That's not the communication standard that we set for these kids. So we go through, we have scenarios that we walk through. I actually make my SROs get up and be role players. They kind of fight me at first, but then they actually enjoy it because I want them to have those experiences and instant application of anything they learn. We talk about student threat or school threat assessments. I think we do a pretty good job developing those individually in our districts. I have a bunch of school districts who actually share to me some of their plans, and I further am able to use those plans as examples for my smaller school districts. So again, I try to take any best practices that we have and share them so all of our school districts can thrive based on their resources. Not everybody has a counselor, not everybody has a mental health specialist, but there may be other avenues such as churches, nonprofit organizations within the community. So it's a shared responsibility. Some other programs that we have, I was able to obtain a grant for almost $3 million, and we have extended some of our training. I'm very excited about this training. We finally moved into our building about 3 weeks ago. The paint is still drying. I'm trying to keep all my tactical guys out of it because it is very nice. But we are going to be pushing out a lot of classes beginning the first of the year. Our gang intervention strategies is going to align with the new House Bill 147. Again, all of these classes are available to my principals and my school safety directors and my educators. There's nothing secretive that we're doing, and I think if anything, it allows the avenue to ask some of those questions that can be a simple thing of, now I understand how the law works, now I understand how the protocols work. Let's develop a plan furthermore of how we engage when we have situations like this at our school. That's the premise. I am also going to start doing more annual symposiums. FBI will be doing one on ghost guns and sexting. And I will go ahead and tell you now, the sexting presentation is very dark. We need to definitely take a step up on making sure we educate our kids, because it doesn't just stop with sharing those nude photos to their friends. It goes a lot deeper than that through some of these cells where people are actually watching children being victimized live. So we need to make sure that we don't contribute to that and we protect our youth from that, okay? Some other things that we're currently working on, again, I say it's a shared responsibility. And when I say that, I want not only our administration, teachers, staff, parents, community, we're all adults. We know, we've learned from our mistakes, we know how to make right decisions. But I want every student in the state of Georgia to feel safe that any adult they come to is going to do something about an issue that they come to them with. And so one of the things I implemented recently, and all my parents in here, this is good information. In the state of Georgia, we have drug recognition experts. These individual police officers go through a week-long rigorous training, and then they do some follow-up training in Florida at a shelter for drug addicts, and they are actually able to identify certain types of symptoms of drugs. Normally, those lead into an arrest. However, this nationally recognized program also said that they have to do a certain amount of evaluations every year, but not every evaluation has to lead into arrest. So that gave me the idea to make sure that all of my school resource officers are connected with their DRE expert in their area. And I say that because if you have a student that they don't do anything in moderation, okay, they go all in as quick as possible, so they'll mix all these different drugs, and unfortunately they will do it at school. That DRE can be called, come down, do the evaluation, and the goal is to simply say, this child needs this type of medical assistance immediately, and principal so-and-so, these are the drugs that unfortunately are coming onto your campus, have a nice day, and walk away. How powerful is that when a child has done something they know is illegally wrong, they got medical help, and now it's on the premise of what can we do to prevent these drugs continuing to come in our school, and what intervention strategies can we put into place? So again, I'm trying to give you guys multiple examples of how it's a shared responsibility. The same aspect when it comes to administration. We have classes that we run through Gazero because Gazero is an alliance of everyone together, and I'll elaborate a little bit on that. But it's very, very important that my SRO and my principal and assistant principals are like this. They should be able to look and say, you know what, it's your turn. All right, I'll step in. And to be able to handle things. They should not be doing this. We can't have them butting heads. The principal is in charge of that school. The SRO is there to support that school and make sure it maintains its safety. Now, are there times where the SRO may have to step up and say, unfortunately, we are going to have to seek charges on this? Absolutely. But then I encourage my SROs to go to the juvenile courts, talk to the advocates, to still find a better avenue, even if it ends in arrest. So again, it's all about intervention. That's what we're trying to do. I want you guys to see a little bit more into the GASRA and what we're doing. So my board is made up of not just law enforcement. Our secretary is Elise Farrell. She is the school safety director for all of your state schools dealing with the deaf and the blind. Scott Crane is the school safety director for Rabun County Schools. Adam Bagwell is a principal now with Habersham County Schools. So we have people making decisions on behalf of the board that also, too, have nothing to do with law enforcement but come from a whole different perspective. I think that's very imperative because we truly have multiple voices and perspectives at the table. And that's what I think that's what I know makes a lot of our training really well. We've adopted a triad school safety model, and I'll talk more about this at the GSBA conference. We're actually doing a workshop to kind of further elaborate on this. But again, you'll notice the school administrators are the center of this, and everyone is supported, whether it's the school resource office, your campus safety monitors, which are going to be your people that kind of help with the perimeter checks, and then of course any of your schools that have a school safety coordinator or director. It's centered and focused around supporting the administrator to make sure that every avenue is covered to keep the school safe. Some of the legal background that falls into that as well is the methodology is that this can be used in any school district. It's all about building that relationship with the understanding that what happens on their school campus, the principal has the discretion, as well as the SRO, okay? We know that the training ground in a school setting, that is to get them to develop and go and graduate. There's plenty of kids, and unfortunately, your kids that make the bad decisions that become the bad kids, it's a learned behavior. They probably don't have a solid structure at home, which is why they're acting out at school. So at that point, we recognize that it's not necessarily the kid's fault. There's other things that we need to implement and put in place. And the SROs is support a part of that team. State v. Young, this is something that we really try to push to our principals to understand. You'll notice there on number 2, public school officials. That is going to be your principals. They have a lot more power when it comes to searching those book bags. Us as law enforcement, it's no different on the street than it is in a school. We still have to abide by the Fourth Amendment. We have to have reasonableness, especially anything that's going to be kind of, if little Jimmy says that John has a gun in his book bag, that's just one person making a claim. But the principal can easily go up, grab that book bag, search it, and if they do find a gun, hand it over to the SRO. We have to have a lot more, just like we would on the road, to be able to violate someone's civil rights. That's important. So we make sure we identify that to show that the SRO is there to support the principal. That also falls into making sure that we don't do anything that's not reasonable. We don't want anybody to be over biased, things of that nature. This is just further case law that supports. A lot of other states operate under this. I'm very thankful that Georgia's one of them. There's some other states that don't, where they actually allow their SRO to be also an administrator, and I think that's where we blend the lines a little bit too much. So again, like I said, with shared responsibility, I can't reiterate this enough. The SRO is not the only person responsible for safety in the school. I want to show you guys a little video, and this was actually created by Sandy Hook. Everybody's familiar with Sandy Hook and what happened there and the tragedy. But I think it's kind of interesting because this isn't something that should be the new norm, but unfortunately, if we continue not to acknowledge the fact that we've got to put certain safety protocols in place, this will be the new back-to-school video that you'll see regularly.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
All right, so I know that's hard. The first couple times I watched it, I had the same reaction to a lot of you in here. Like I said, I'm a product of Columbine. Okay, so when Columbine happened, it was normal for us when it came to being a freshman in high school that we had to practice for intruder alerts. and alerts. I know there has been some opposition with House Bill 147. My kids are in Coweta County Schools. They do intruder alert drills once a month. My kids have came home, I picked them up from school. Mom, we did a bad guy drill today, and I was like, how did that go? And they were like, we were supposed to be really, really quiet and wait till you get there. And that's heartbreaking because my kids know I'm in law enforcement, but realistically, I'm not gonna be the first response there. So again, if we can work together as a team, as a shared responsibility mindset to know that all the training that we do when it comes to school safety, this stuff will not happen. That's why it's important when it comes to a lot of our threat assessment models, behavioral threat assessments, whatever your school districts are calling them, what the Department of Education as well as GEMA is setting the structure for is information sharing. When certain things need to be addressed, when there's certain issues that aren't being addressed and they go too long, then they turn into an active shooter situation. Every single active shooter where we had a peer shoot other students, and I'll tell you this, every single one of them had multiple signs before they actually brought the rifle on campus and shot their friends. Multiple signs that us as adults in this room, even law enforcement, did not pay attention to, did not address, and that's what it escalated to. Although I further believe now with a lot of the things that we are all doing as a united front are going to prevent that from happening in reporting, information sharing, and of course providing resources. A lot of our attackers, 94%, that was the only thing they were able to find common, suffered from adverse childhood experiences. So going back to what I said earlier about what Jessica's doing, I know that's huge in the Clayton County area and the metro area schools. These kids thrive. That's where they learn from. They're on YouTube, they're on social media, and art is a way for them to be able to cry out and get all their energy out, and now they can actually develop a career on it. That's awesome. So we can convert some of those things over to make sure they're making good choices. So with that comes our partnerships. So as you see up here, this partnership page, I'm gonna have to have 2 or 3 of them because I have had nothing but yes, no problem. I'm there if you need me ever since I connected with everyone in here from the School Board Association specifically. I've only known a lot of you for a little over a year and you guys feel like family. So I wanna thank you personally for all the work that you have done to really set us up to the standard that here in the state of Georgia, I don't call people from other states to come and teach them my stuff. Because we've got teachers, educators, school safety directors, people that live here in the state of Georgia that are sharing these best practices, and we're doing it homegrown, and that's the way it should be. Not just homegrown businesses, not just homegrown colleges, but homegrown ways of keeping our kids safe in the state of Georgia. That's extremely important, and that's what we do both at the training center side and also too at the Gadsden side. So I just kind of want to wrap things up. We did finalize our conference for this year, June 16th through the 19th. We're going to be in the Classic Center in Athens. They, from what I hear, are excited to have us again. No, I'm not a Georgia fan, but I wear red when I'm there. Just want to let you know, okay? But Governor Kemp has opened both of our past 2 years with our governor's meeting. That's where I've had Nick, and Stan's been there as well. And it's a really good conversation. This past year was very interesting. It was kind of quiet at first because I think it was the first time we had a roundtable where we had educators and law enforcement all at the same seats. And everybody was kind of trying to fill each other out. And then once we got it going, we actually ran over. We had to hurry up and stop, and we were going to miss open ceremony. So I think that's a very huge step in the right direction. All of these classes are also open to my educators as well. We've got a couple of workshops, even my SHIELD training. I want my educators, if they want to, go out there with their SRO and watch them shoot with the SHIELD. I think that's awesome. This past summer, we had a couple people breaching a door. Even Dr. Kelly Young, she was breaching a door from PSC. She got over there and got the breaching kit, and she was breaching that door as if she was part of the police. And they're a lot more aggressive than my SROs. So we had some fun with that. But again, it's all about just sharing those training best practices to see what we can do to continue to make Georgia the safest place to actually put your kids to school. That's my goal. Some of the certifications that we're going to be rolling out. One of the big ones I want to highlight is the SRO investigator. So I've seen a lot of difficulties when it comes to when we have kids who make claims of child abuse or sexual abuse on school campus. So we are going to find a way to bring everybody together, the counselor, the educator, as well as some of our child investigators, all on the same playing field to understand everyone's a mandated reporter in a school setting, but we really need to drive home how that mandated reporting is effective. Our GRIT instructor, which again, I keep pointing to Jessica because I'm going to be calling her. Our GRIT program is our gang resistance intervention and inspiration teams. We want to be able to go to these school districts and say, hey, I've got kids that are being affected by gangs. How can I help them? Because I tell my gang investigators, you guys have the easy job when they're adults. You just lock them up and they're gone, right? But when they're a child, they've already been jumped in or sexed into a gang. How do you get them out? Because they still got to get on that bus and go back home to their community. That's where the real work starts. So in putting these teams together, finding outlets where they are able to engage in after extracurricular activities, not necessarily in the street, kicking in doors, stealing cars, things of that nature, we can find another way to kind of reallocate that aggression to make sure that they are going to be resilient, get through school, also to the unfortunate circumstances that they're in, to be able to graduate and make their own decisions, good decisions as adults. We are also too working with GSBA as well as Gale and GSSA to kind of talk with that discussion about the school safety director and school safety coordinator. I've noticed a lot of school districts are starting to adopt those. Even some of your assistant principals take on the roles of school safety director or coordinator, and I think that's a lot. So maybe here in the next couple years, we can be a part of kind of helping to see what that looks like, to make sure that we've got someone there that kind of can alleviate some of the pressure from the principal and the SRO to kind of mitigate how we can make sure we keep our schools safe, as it also too extends into emergency services or fire services or during the pandemic or things of that nature. All right, so I know I kind of rambled through that very quickly. Like I said before, for the past year, I've been going to multiple school board conferences presenting the same narrative. We're going to be doing a workshop in November I'm excited about with GSBA. I don't think it'll stop there. And then, of course, hopefully I'll see some of you guys at my conference in June. I'd love to have you, even if you just drop in for the day just to see what we're about. This is my contact information. That's my cell phone number, because I'm never at my desk because I'm always around wonderful, lovely people. And my email address. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having me.
Any questions?
I have a comment.
Oh, questions. Oh, I forgot about it. I'm sorry. Yes.
I enjoyed coming to Gypstick. That was fun. And when you
Yes.
talked about breaching the door, that was good. I got pictures of Scott. I don't think anybody got pictures of me, but it was fun. It was learning. You learn a lot.
Well, and I figured out, I don't, like, when we want to equip our SROs, and I don't want them to look like a tactical SWAT team assigned to a school, okay? However, I want them to be tactically sound to respond if need be. So, but I will say, even the CJCC folks that gave me the funding to be able to purchase, because we're going to have these classes and we're going to give that equipment away for free, and I had them out there, and I'm just sorry. The educators were better at breaching the door than the SROs were. So I hate myself because I was like, man, I should have took pictures and videos, because I think this year we might make a competition with it. And then we also have a simulator, so you can go in and actually have scenarios. The same thing, they're shooting everybody, and I'm like, oh my God, this, whatever, let's just try it. And, it's just a fun exercise. But I just found the more that we blend together and train together, I think everything's going to be way more effective because we understand each other's roles. So that's good. But thank you. Yes. Chris is my poor directors. They love me so much. Yes.
Yeah, you do a great job.
Thank you.
No question.
Yes,
You
sir.
hit on the sexting.
Yes.
component. Can you speak to what it also encompasses if that material crosses state lines?
Yes. It is, all right, so the state of Georgia, GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, we have a ICAT, it's called Internet Crimes Against Children. So we have an ICAT task force. And when they have to go do the search warrants and find the algorithms of how all that photo has been shared so many times, it creates a mess, and it's very, very hard to narrow it down to who initially shared it. So we've even seen cells where the photos that may have been taken at a local high school, for example, are being used to later do sextortion, which is a whole new concept now. So sextortion is, you've already sent a photo and you break up with them and they're like, well, I want more photos. If you don't send me more naked photos, I'll tell your parents. So that's a form of sextortion. So I spoke with the FBI. They have a lot more intel. They're a little bit hesitant about sharing certain things, and I get it because it is classified information, but we are currently working through that to make sure that not only do we empower our SROs and principals with this information, but I'd like for them to be able to teach the parents. Because every time a kid goes, I need to go to the bathroom, and they take their phone, they're in a private space, so what do you think they're doing? Same thing in their room. And I know parents have certain controls over those things. So we're trying to expand, but once it goes internationally, there's also some youth radicalization. We have found 14-year-old kids who are actually running terrorist cells in Palestine, and it's under the concept of a game. They don't realize that they're actually giving orders out to another country to do things. So it's escalated again. And it's just a matter of keeping parents informed so they can see it at home. So anything we enforce in the school setting is then reinforced at home as well.
One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about as a supplement, because, you're talking about training in schools and everything like that. The State Bar of Georgia has a representative. Her name's Deborah Crater. Do you know Deborah?
I've heard of the name. I haven't met her personally.
But she offers services through the State Bar of Georgia that are complementary to appear before student groups and or parent groups to discuss, she kind of phrases it, used to phrase it, I don't know if it's the same title, but the 7 deadly sins.
Yes.
And about, mistakes that students can make, but how parents can become much more aware of that.
Yes.
So again, that's a resource that's through the State Bar of Georgia, and Deborah Crater is the person that runs that program, I believe.
I will definitely be reaching out to her. Because like I said, I think we do a great job in everything that we're solely assigned to do. It's just we have to get better at sharing that information. So now, I even have to call certain people to figure out how can I find out more information before I go and create something of my own version. A lot of it's already out there, that perfect example. So it's just kind of bridging those gaps. And like I said, FBI has been kind of, they get it now, but everyone remembers the hoax that happened. So Savannah was hit with that first. They had that information several months before it even happened, but they didn't share it with anybody. So when that happened, you had 6 different school districts that were heavily affected, and you had multiple people responding. People could have got hurt just on the response because of something that was fake. So again, we just got to get better at sharing that information from there, and then we can edit the protocols of what we can do better. But I do want to get her information from you because I think that would be really good, especially for my parents, someone like her to talk to.
In the schools, what are the top 3 or 5 things that really happen more frequently?
Guns being brought on campus, specifically pistols. So I recently got some money to buy pistol-rated shields. Pistol-rated shields, the company is Averco, is the company. The owner of the company is actually a tenured professor at Georgia Tech, and these shields weigh 10 pounds. They roll up like a yoga mat, so officers can use them at games, certain functions, or have them on them at school if there's been a couple of threats on campus. Handguns, like I said, pistol rated, so handguns. Most of your rifles are going to be used in a school shooting situation, but I could probably, unfortunately, pick up the phone right now and contact a handful of police chiefs, and they're like, yeah, I had a gun brought on here 20 minutes ago. So that's probably the biggest part. So the schools that have things like Evolve and Centegix, those are effective, but a lot of it's human error, someone not communicating something they saw. You can't have a machine for that. That's human error issue. That's people feeling the need, like I said, share responsibility, that they can report that, either remain anonymous or it's going to have attention brought to it. So one of the things that we started at the conference this past summer was I got kind of tired of talking about all the school shootings of when it went wrong, because that's when it goes wrong. So I said, let's present on when it went right, meaning when guns on campus, information shared within 2 seconds, students engaged, we have that gun detained or secured, and now we can have a conversation with this kid to figure out what's going on. That's when it went right, because it's going to happen. So it's more of what are some protocols we can put in place to shorten that time frame of when it happens and address it, and then instantly put that child on some type of threat assessment plan or needs, because again, kids just don't want to come to school and be bad. It's a cry for help, and I know some people are cringing when I say that, but it's the truth. I grew up around kids like that. They just need an outlet. And sometimes it's a cry for help. And unfortunately, in some of our school districts, kids bringing guns to campus is because they're afraid of some of the gang activities filtering into school. I had one SRO tell me that they've had a huge influx of kids fighting on campus, and they said they'd rather fight on campus because an adult will stop it than out in the community where no one's going to stop it. That's an issue for me. So these are things that we're constantly talking about. Something else that I do we just did it recently in September, I do an executive SRO seminar, and I have people from, Stan's been there as well, Nick, and Mr. Woods actually opened it last year, and we have that conversation that you just asked. What are some issues we're seeing? Where are we missing the buck on training, and what we can implement for the next year? So right now I'm overhauling the basic program, all these classes, so come the first of the year, when they roll out, everything is up to date within 6 months. So, we work really hard and diligently, but it relies on relationships that I have with a lot of these people in the room to kind of pick up the phone and say, okay, what do we have going on? So, it's a lot of work. It's worth it, though. Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. We're talking about prevention, and especially, because I think most of in my experience, kids know what's going on before the adults know what's going on. Do we have any type of app, or do you know of anything that's out there that students can download on a phone and just give anonymous, hey, this is something going on?
There's been a couple of app companies, and believe me, I've seen a lot just because of my line of work. I have a lot of people reach out to me. There is a future app company that I think is going to be extremely successful, and it's Georgia-based, which I think is really good. Some of the developers are people actually not just from the law enforcement side, but also too from the educational side. So once we can kind of fine tune some of the details with that, I think that's something we can present. GBI has one, C-Send, and it's good, but it's very broad on the perspective of it can either be a bomb threat at Mercedes-Benz, or it could be something on a school campus, or it can be gang activity. The company that I mentioned, I'm going to try and connect them with the GBI because GBI has recently created something when it comes to gang intel sharing. And so what I'd like to do is create an avenue to where they're not releasing gang information, but they have an avenue to where principals and SROs can share certain things they see on their campus to that system. And then in turn, those gang investors will get alerted. They'll reach out to the SRO and say, okay, if you see kids doing this, wearing this, this is probably a reflection of this gang, so you need to hunker down on this stuff. So that kind of helps, and that's where that intervention comes in, and then the suppression piece to keep it from continuing on to filter into the campus. And I want to talk about prevention too. So we've done 2 sessions of the GREAT program. So if that's anything in your budgets on the school side, it's the Gang Resistance Education Training Program. The United States Attorney for the Northern District, Ryan Buchanan, he helped us kind of allocate funding for the first one. Jose Ramirez, the president of GGIA, is the Georgia Gang Association, and they come in, they do role playing. They actually teach SROs how to do presentations in a school when it comes to gang violence. They're a wonderful company. They have instructors that come in from all over the world, a lot of them from Central America, because we do see a heavy influx of our Latin and Hispanic gangs in all of our schools because the culture difference when they come to the state of Georgia or the state alone. And they also have an extension program that's 2 days where they actually have those conversations of how to deal with a child that's involved in a gang and how to lead that conversation with the families. So that's something else that I'm currently working on to find funding to see if we can put some of those programs in place too. And they will open the classes for principals. I did ask them that. Normally it's GREAT, G-R-E-A-T, and it's all spelled out like an acronym. I'm working right now to try and see if I can do a hosting in Savannah. Jill, the United States Attorney down there, she wants to do one, so we're trying to work through with Terry Enoch's folks down at Savannah Chatham Schools. So it's I'll tell you right now, it's $49,919. That's how much it costs for them to come for a week. So I'm working with the CJCC right now with the juvenile side to see if we can't find funding, because it's a wonderful intervention program.
I know you've talked a lot about gangs, but in your experience, and I think like it just reaffirms, I think this is not just in urban areas, this is throughout the
Everywhere.
state.
Yes, sir. And we're seeing a huge opioid epidemic kind of go up a little bit in the rural areas especially. So vapes in a school, kids aren't supposed to have them. And unfortunately, do they bring them on campus every day? Absolutely. And the juvenile courts aren't going to lock them up every time they get a vape. But the issue is some of these vapes they're actually putting heroin or fentanyl in them and thinking it's a joke and giving it to their friends, and that can cause some severe problems leading up to death. So just having that awareness out there, that's a huge proponent of what we're trying to do too. And I actually, speaking with Superintendent Woods, me and Jeff have been working a little bit together with some of the classes that you guys already have up to kind of see how we can expand on those or add to them. The Narcan training is something that we've also opened up towards not just law enforcement, but for educators as well. So, and that's already a federally funded program. That's free. We come to you, and we can do that through GIPSTIC as well. So.
Superintendent, I did want to mention, there is a Stop It app. Some local districts are purchasing. I know we did in Lane County when I was board chair, but it actually alerts the school administrator and our dispatch for situations. So if a kid reports something, it sends it directly to the administrator. Within a matter of minutes, it notifies our dispatch center. And so 2 streams of communication to make sure that that issue has been reported to an authority figure. And so typically, like in the middle of the night, if the administrators sleep and don't respond, it will notify our on-duty supervisor, and typically they contact and call that we get the administrator up and try to look into the issue, especially when they report like somebody brought a gun on campus. We try to get to the schools the next morning with the SRO, do a complete, search and get that kid removed from before he even gets into the general breakfast commons area and stuff like that.
So I pose, I do want to follow up with you on that. I think come the first of the year, the person that I've been working with, having some of those conversations, because some school districts do have them and they work, but I'd love to have something that comes from the state side as a whole that can be used for everybody. So that'd definitely be something worthy. And I'm a Georgia-based girl, so they get my love first. I don't care about anybody else. I'm like, if you ain't from Georgia, not right yet. Wait, let me make sure. So that's one of the things I love about Governor Kemp. So that's what that's how we thrive. So I'm thankful for that. Georgia's very progressive, and so I want to keep it that way. So.
Great. Thank you very much.
No, thank you guys so much. Thank you.
All right, I don't believe there's any other business for the board. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. I have a second. Mr. Donaldson's not here, so someone else will have to say. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The nays may have it, but we are still.